Impact analysis has been a really exciting area of development for our team. We love feedback and product ideas that emanate from our users. With impact analysis, we take the configuration we already have from the workbook and reformat it to tell a specific use case. This demo is broken up into two sections and two modules. For both EC and RBP, we will first show how to run the bot actions, and then in part two, I'll break down how to use and interpret the information. We'll start with impact analysis for RBP, create an iteration just as you would for a standard CodeBot module, but in the description, we'll specify which impact analysis RBP action we're going to run, starting with matched roles. This tab will show us how the roles compare to each other within a single instance. Different to a standard iteration, we're going to start by opening the workbook and going to the config tab. Here we can name a role percentage in columns C and D that will pull roles that match that percentage number into the matched role details tab. More importantly, columns F, G, and H, we can set numbers and ranges to simplify the conditional formatting on the sheet. This part essentially makes it more visually discerning for analysis. Now we can close the workbook, hamburger menu, generate analysis, select the source iteration. That is a workbook that you have already generated for RBP where you want to see how similar the roles are to each other. Add an execution note, check matched roles, and then confirm and start. Let's do another iteration, this time for role differences. You don't need to set anything in the config tab here, just select generate analysis in the hamburger menu. Then when you check box number 1, role differences, you'll see source, destination 1, 2, and 3 iterations on the right. Roles differences is to compare the permissions that roles have across multiple instances. Those dropdowns are workbooks that you've previously generated. What is most common is that prod is source, then dev, test, and QA for destinations 1 through 3. I got lazy here on my execution note and I regretted it. I would document which instance is which in that execution note and then click confirm and start. Lastly, we'll also create an iteration and select an instance for role count and then run that action. Okay, now let's look at EC. When you go to add an iteration in this window, CodeBot is asking you to find a connected sheet. We use this concept in a few places. It's essentially a workbook that you've already generated that the bot will use as a reference. Find a recent workbook that fits your use case and then submit the form. On connected sheet iterations, there are two workbooks. The connected sheet in the middle is a link to that standard EC workbook that you've connected, and then the analysis sheet is on the left. Click the hamburger menu and prepare sheet. We'll select all except for the field dependency UI. You'll notice that when we select options that compare config to other instances, we are prompted to provide log information for both the iteration instance, which in this case is 443, and the destination instance, in this case T1. Click confirm and start. All right, now our impact analysis is complete. Let's open these workbooks and take a look at how to interpret this data within. So role differences, this one's really cool. This is very useful if you are looking to reduce the number of roles you have or find redundancies within the roles that you have. So again, here in columns, after column C, we have role titles, role names. And in rows, after row 3, we have roles as well. And these numbers represent the percentage similarity that those roles' permissions are in common. So what that means here, we can see that apprentice compared to all employee search and login new, that is 62% in common. Same here when we look at all employee search and login new versus apprentice, 62% in common. So you see on the diagonal, those numbers are going to be reflective of each other. And so 62% in common for all employee search login new, all employee search and login old, those are 67% in common with apprentice. But then on that diagonal, when it's the same role compared to itself, that's where we get that 100 highlight. So we can see it's exactly matched. That makes sense. Same role compared to itself. And then apprentice versus apprentice supervisor, those roles are extremely similar. So we can see that in the 99th they are 99% in common. So as you scroll through, this conditional formatting that we set makes it really easy to tell where you have potential redundancies. And then if you see any sections of this that look like this here, then we know we have a lot of roles that are very, very similar to each other in their commonalities. We can also see then that we've pulled in matched role details. So if we want to get a closer look at any of those, any of the roles that we've identified will populate here, and we can get a closer look at how those permission structures are aligned. All right, then we have role differences. What this is doing is checking if dev, test, and prod are aligned across multiple instances. And so here we name our source instance, and then we've also named destination 1, destination 2, destination 3, and then we have this variation column. So we can see that same role title, all employees search and login new, is available in all 4 instances that we're looking at. So this is helping us compare the permission structures across 4 instances within one view. And we can see for this permission, admin alerts, object permissions, automatic hire, admin alert. That permission in our destination 2 instance has a view edit instead of false, whereas in the other instances that permission is false. So there is a variation there, so you can see that that has flipped over to yes. So what you can do is essentially add a filter and then filter based on the yeses or nos that are within the particular column to see everywhere where you have differences in your permission structure across each role. The use cases that I see for this, we then have users who kind of go role by role. Once they're done interpreting a role, they'll go ahead and hide those columns and move on to the next role, etc. And you can kind of see how things are the same or different scrolling through that way. It's also might be useful to memorize or change the titles of destination 1, 2, and 3. That is all a part of how we identify them within the action. And so it's probably a good idea to write that down in the tracking request ID. That was something that I missed during this, but so that you know which instance refers to destination 1, destination 2, and destination 3. Then for impact analysis for RBP, we also have this role count action. And here we can see that role count is pretty easy. It just takes the role names and then adds the count of how many users are in that role. All right, so that is how to interpret impact analysis for RBP. Impact analysis for EC is very similar to the impact analysis from other modules, so you'll see this type of structure elsewhere. Let's go find the one that we've just run. This goes pretty quick. We can see this took 48 minutes to run, and we can open up the sheet, see the data within. It starts with the field dependency column. So in this case, what we're able to do is see the entity, the field, the label. And so when we scroll through, we can see like hire date. Here is hire date. And then field being used. These are all of the business rules that interact with hire date. So you can add, again, in the third row is a good place to add a filter. And you can filter out by type. You can filter out by the label, etc. But essentially what you're doing is mapping where does your field show up in either business rules or MDF objects or HRIS sync. Workflow dependency does something similar where we're naming a business rule, the portlet that it's assigned to, the workflow that's being used, and then adds out those if statements as well. This is also a good place where you can Command F and search for any of your business rules that interact with any sort of particular field or naming convention. We also can map business rules to permission groups and to pick lists, and then object level summary, this is a good place to, again, add a filter here and filter out. This is comparing the two instances to each other. So you can go filter and see where you have entities that are different between the two instances. Then in the field level report, it'll actually show you the field level details of those differences. So again, we can filter by color and see where we have any changes between, the source value and the destination value. So this was what was in our 443 instance. This is what was in our T1 instance. And then a country level specific report as well. You have countries listed along the columns, and then the fields in the rows, and you can see the details of those country level specific fields in this report, just like that. All right, that's it for this training. Thank you so much for watching.